I have extensively tested all the most popular portable electronic mini pumps alongside some less well-known models to find out exactly which one you should buy. And of course, I've linked them all down below if you want to find them for yourself. I'm going to break this video down into 3 categories: Nano, Mini, and off-bike. That's because as I received all of these different pumps for testing, I started to notice a clear divide between them and the specifications that they offer. However, some things were universal across all of them. They're all USB-C rechargeable. They can all cater to Presta and Schrader valves, some more successfully than others, and they all come with a sealable travel bag to help keep the pump free of dirt and water, something which is critical to ensure your pump works for years to come. At the end of me speaking about each category, I will give you my verdict on how they stack up and which, ultimately, in my opinion, is the best to buy in each category. All pumps in the Nano category, bar one, feature a 300 mAh size battery, claim a quick charge time of 30 minutes or less, and claim to reach a maximum of 100 psi, with the outlier claiming it can reach 120 psi and taking 1 hour to charge. They all weigh between a claimed 93 to 110 grams, and when we tested the pumps on our own scales, the claims rang true bar a gram here or there, which of course we won't quibble about. It's also worth mentioning that all of the pumps that sit within the Nano category don't come with a display, nor are they programmable. So, in no particular order, we're going to start with the Muc-Off AirMach. As arguably the most recognisable brand in the Nano category, I had high hopes for this little unit going into testing, and I'm happy to report that it did well. The silicone case that it comes in provides a premium tactile feel, and the pattern in the silicone itself helps provide that extra little bit of grip. The valve nozzle is also very dexterous thanks to the knurling on the metal, which makes switching between Presta and Schrader valve setups much easier. However, I did notice that the valve seal itself does feel like a fairly soft rubber, so I imagine this will start to wear down fairly quickly when pushed against a metal valve, and sadly, it does not come with a replacement seal, but Muc-Off says they are available if replacements are needed. The USB-C charging port doubles as the air intake, as it does with every other pump. And the button placement is good, with the easy-to-see LED making operation simple. Just press once to wake the device up, then double press to start pumping. It took around 60 seconds to fill my 30C tyres with 50 psi, and it did successfully seat a tubeless tyre. Next up, we have the Cycplus AS2. This pump comes with a few more added extras compared to the AirMach. For example, a flexi hose, a spare valve seal, and an adapter pin for use on Schrader valves. It too comes in a silicone case, and while it maybe doesn't look quite as cool as the Muc-Offs, it's certainly still completely functional. The AS2 also features a much smaller nozzle, so while it may be slightly more fiddly to open up for either replacing the seal or switching to Schrader, it does make the overall form factor far less intrusive. In use, it's exactly the same as the AirMach. However, the button placed on the underside of the unit is covered by the case, so locating the button when you're not looking at it isn't as easy and will be made harder when using gloves. I'd love for Cycplus to redo their silicone case to either feature a hole like the Muc-Off or instead include a raised lump for easier use. That being said, since operation is so simple, in the grand scheme of things, this is a really minor point. It too reached 50 psi in around 60 seconds and was able to see a tubeless tyre. It also vibrated noticeably less than the AirMach. Moving swiftly on, we have the Fumpa Nano, which certainly stands out in its appearance compared to some of the other units. However, it also stands out due to its spec sheet. This pump is the outlier in the Nano category, as it's the pump which claims it can reach 120 psi, but is also the one which has the longest claimed charge time of 1 hour. It's also by far the most expensive pump in the Nano category. In use, the shape of the unit fits really well in the hand thanks to the curved edge, and the raised, light-up button makes for really easy use. It doesn't follow the same button procedure as the previous two units, but instead you simply hold down the button until it starts pumping, upon which you can then lift your finger off the button and then press again when you want to turn it off. The lack of silicone protection is noticeable, as the anodized aluminium casing is less grippy, and it also conducts heat and vibrations quite quickly back to the user. It's clearly a powerful pump, as it reached 50 psi in under a minute, and it too was able to see a tubeless tyre. We're now going to cover two units which arguably have less well-known brand names, but I believe are worthy of inclusion. If you scan Amazon, you'll find loads of pumps like this, so I selected two that I thought stood out from the crowd based on specification and user review ratings. Firstly, we have this unit from a brand called Flextail. It follows a similar formula in that it includes a flexi hose, a sealable bag for protection, but it does also include a few funky extras. Rather than having a multi-purpose Presta or Schrader adapter, it just comes with an entirely different one that you can alternate between. It also features a strap allowing you to mount it, albeit pretty loosely to your bike, and then turn on an SOS flash in case you need a backup rear light. The Flextail is also the outlier in battery size, as this is the only unit in the Nano category which has a larger 350 mAh battery, meaning it should last that little bit longer compared to the others. It's an interesting assortment of features, but I wonder if it's simply trying to do too much. The silicone case helps with ergonomics, and the big button is very easy to locate with your finger, and overall is very simple to operate. In use, the button needs to be held down to wake it up. When this is done, the button lights up, and it also makes a little sound in case you're not looking at the button. From there, it just takes one push to activate the pump and one more to stop it. It did make a few noises that sounded like it might be struggling, but it still performed well and inflated my tyre to 50 psi in just over a minute. Lastly, for the Nano category, we come to the Airbank, which I think could be a bit of a dark horse. It's the best value pump, and it keeps pace on maximum inflation claims and battery size, and it also does claim to fully recharge in under 30 minutes. It's also the lightest at 93 grams. Due to the lower price, you do miss out on some extras such as the silicone sleeve, but it does come with a replacement valve seal and Schrader adapter pin. I like that the large operation button is on the same side as the valve nozzle, as this makes it really easy to use whether you're wearing gloves or not. The downside to the button is that the LED is just a small pinhole, so when your thumb is on top of it, you don't know what it's showing. But operation is simple, as once again it follows the same procedure as some of the others in that it's one push to wake it up, a double press to activate, and then one push to stop. The shape of the device has much softer edges compared to others, so it fits beautifully in your hand and I believe has the best ergonomics of the bunch. But the real surprise here came from its inflation time. It hit the desired 50 psi in just over 50 seconds, and it too did manage to seat a tubeless tyre. So, how do all of these pumps stack up and compare to each other? Starting from worst to best, I'm putting the Flextail in 5th place. While the extra features it offers are good, such as the keyring and SOS light, these feel more like gimmicks and are distracting from its overall job of just being a good pump. I'm concerned about how it sounded like it was struggling on some inflations, and while the extra battery life is nice, the extra weight of the unit and bulkier form factor means that I think there are just better options out on the market that cost similar amounts of money. Next, I'm putting the Fumpa Nano into 4th place. While it's clearly a powerful and well-made unit, the high price, lack of silicone sleeve, and slow charge time mean, again, there are simply better options available. I've awarded 3rd place to the Muc-Off AirMach. It is no doubt a brilliant unit thanks to its tactile sleeve, easy to use valve nozzle and operation button, but the lack of an included replaceable valve seal and slightly harsh ergonomics means it lands in 3rd. 2nd place goes to the Airbank. I think its price point of around £40 is brilliant, and for that you get a really high performing pump. It's light, has brilliant ergonomics, is powerful and can charge up nice and quickly, but the lack of a silicone sleeve does stop it from claiming gold. So, as you've probably guessed, first place has been awarded to the Cycplus AS2. This one wins for a number of reasons. I love its brilliantly small form factor, all thanks to its ability to keep the nozzle head within the main unit housing. The easy operation, silicone sleeve, reasonable price point and included extras in the box make this not only a quality product, but also good value and something I think will be very popular among cyclists. Next up, we move on to the Minis. Now, there is a distinct difference here between the Nanos and the Minis, and that can be boiled down to three things. First, these pumps all have generally bigger form factors, with heavier weights ranging from 120 to 190 grams. Secondly, they start to introduce LCD displays and extra buttons that predominantly allow you to set your desired pressure so that when inflating, once the pump reaches that number, it will stop. Thirdly, they all have bigger batteries, but there's a bigger range from 400 to 600 milliamp hours. First in the Mini category is the Topeak e-Booster Digital. This is actually a pretty new product on the market, and with it comes some pretty interesting features and claim specifications. It's the largest of the Mini category, and it really does push the limit of what you might want to carry with you on the bike. However, the large form factor does play host to the largest battery in the category at 600 milliamp hours. So if you want to be prepared for multiple inflations, then this will be the one to go for. The e-Booster has a unique feature, being this sliding switch that allows you to pivot between either Presta or Schrader valves. It has a decent sized screen with illuminated buttons that are big and very easy to operate. In use, setting the pressure is very easy and the unit doesn't automatically turn off that quickly, so it gives you time to set the pressure, get the pump into position and then start it. However, I would have loved if the screen and buttons were on the nozzle side of the unit. The silicone case is great for grip, insulating fingers and aiding in vibration dampening. In the inflation test, it took bang on 60 seconds to hit 50 psi on my 30C tyre, and afterwards, the battery was still showing us full. In fact, I managed to get a full 5 inflations out of this unit. I did find that on occasion I was accidentally hitting one of the buttons, meaning it would cut out mid-inflation, and it was a bit too easy to accidentally cover the USB-C charge port, which doubles as the air intake. So my only tip would be to be careful of hand placement when you're using it. Next up, we have the Cycplus AS2 Pro, the bigger brother to the standard AS2. I say bigger brother, it's nearly identical in every dimension other than its height. It's about 5mm taller. It comes with all the same bits as the AS2, so a flexi hose, an extra valve seal, ball inflator and Schrader adapter pin. The way it differs though is that the Pro version comes with a screen and is programmable. In use, it's as simple to use as the AS2. However, the buttons on the AS2 Pro didn't increase in size. In fact, they're smaller, so they are more fiddly to operate, and even more so when you're wearing gloves. I would have loved it if the buttons and screen were on the nozzle side of the unit. It managed to inflate my 30C tyre to 50 psi in just 37 seconds, so nice and speedy, and it managed to deliver 4 inflations from its 420 mAh battery, just one less than the Topeak, which has a 600 mAh battery. We have another unit from Fumpa now, and it's the Fumpa Mini. Much like the Cycplus, the Fumpa Mini is a big brother to the Nano, and the size difference is much more noticeable between these two, with every dimension getting bigger. The Fumpa Mini has just a 400 mAh size battery, which is the smallest of this category, and it also doesn't have a screen or is programmable. It lacks a silicone sleeve like the Nano, and despite having the smallest battery, it's the heaviest in this category. It is a powerful unit though, as it managed to hit 50 psi in around 30 seconds. Lastly, in the Mini category, we have the Rockbros AS1. It, like many others, comes with all the usual extras we have come to expect from these pumps. However, it's the second lightest in the Mini category and has a 450 mAh battery. The Rockbros unit has a trump card up its sleeve though, at least it does in my opinion. We finally have a pump that houses its buttons and screen on the nozzle side of the unit, enabling you to set your pressure, ensure the device isn't auto turning off, start the inflation, and then watch the pressure go up. This placement also means it's much harder to accidentally press a button and stop operation midway through inflation. The AS1 inflated my tyre in 36 seconds, so it's pretty quick. However, I noticed that it got much hotter than the others after repeated inflations. Clearly, the slightly bigger pumps that sit in the mini category come with some really handy extra functionality. So let's see how they stack up, at least in my opinion. In fourth place is the Fumpa Mini. Like the Nano, it's a well-built, powerful unit. However, the lack of screen, programmable features, long charge time, excess weight, high price, small battery, and lack of silicone sleeve mean that compared to others in the category, it really falls behind. Third place is awarded to the Rockbros Mini. It has a respectable price and comes with the features to boot. Screen, fast charge, decent sized battery, and in my opinion, the best screen and button layout. The high temperature after multiple inflation does concern me, but it's certainly worthy of consideration. Second place goes to the Topeak e-Booster Digital. Despite its bigger form factor and heavier weight, it can justify it by having the biggest battery. If you're often found switching between Presta and Schrader valves, then this will be the best one for you. I can see this one being a real lifesaver for a parent who likes to go out riding with their kids. Which means first place goes to the Cycplus AS2 Pro. Now, I promise, this video is not sponsored by Cycplus. It's just made a really great product. The incremental size increase from the AS2 means it will still fit really well into a jersey pocket or saddlebag. And the larger 420 mAh battery just gives you that extra inflation or two. Combine all of that with the digital display and programmable inflation limit, and you're onto a real winner. Last up, we have the off-bike category. Essentially, these are the pumps which are better placed to stay at home, in the workshop, garage, or car. These pumps have bigger batteries still, and ultimately are that bit more powerful and faster inflating. First up, we have the Fumpa Classic. It packs a 550 mAh battery into its pretty large casing. It features 3 easy-to-use buttons and a display which shows you all of the information that you need. It allows you to cycle between bar, PSI, and kPa. Since this is a pump that won't be joining you on rides, I'm not that bothered by how big and heavy it is. But what is great about this pump is how fast it is to inflate. I filled my 30C tyre to 50 psi in just 18 seconds. A really great performance, and it did it with ease. I also love the button and screen placement as it allows you to see what's going on as you inflate. Next up, we have the Cycplus AS2 Pro Max. It follows exactly the same pattern as the 2 smaller models, and it performs just as well. It isn't quite as fast to inflate as the Fumpa, as it took 30 seconds to reach 50 psi, but still a good performance, and I do like the tactile finish of that silicone case. Lastly, we have the Bosch electric bike pump. It's the only pump which breaks away from the incredibly similar design language of the other models. This unit is very ergonomically friendly and has a good selection of buttons to control all of its operations. The spare adapters are housed in the pump's handle, making for safe stowage. However, in use, there are a few issues. I think this pump is better suited to Schrader valves than Presta ones, because once you're done inflating through a Presta valve and want to unscrew the pump, it's incredibly hard to remove. The Presta adapter stops the head from spinning, making it seriously tough to take off. I ended up having to use a couple of pairs of pliers to get it free. So, to round up the off-bike category, third place has to go to the Bosch. I like its shape and ergonomics, but ultimately, it's just not that well suited to those using Presta valves. In second place is the Cycplus AS2 Pro Max. It retains all the features that make its smaller sibling so great. But those same features, in my opinion, aren't as necessary for something you aren't going to carry with you. There's an argument to say the Topeak e-boosted digital could also compete in the off-bike category, and it would be hard to pull it apart from the Cycplus AS2 Pro Max. Both have 600 mAh batteries, and both are similar in price. However, if choosing between these two models, I would go for the Topeak thanks to its lower weight, illuminated buttons, and valve switch. Meaning, in first place in the off-bike category is the Fumpa Classic, thanks to how it performed in testing. Its button placement, screen, and sheer power mean this is great for using off the bike. So there we have it, that's my full rundown of the best portable electronic bike pumps currently available. As mentioned at the start, I've linked them all down below, so let me know which one you go for.